So, if this is the kind of basic definition of culture that anthropologists and many other people work with, a system of knowledge, beliefs, patterns of behavior, institutions, artifacts, etc., um, that a group of people shared, we also have to acknowledge the ways in which it isn't only just that one group of people or any one group of people that shares any particular set of knowledge, beliefs, patterns of behavior, artifacts, and institutions, right? And so I think that it's really important that in addition to this kind of bare bones definition of what culture is, we also think about the ways in which, as I've discussed already in this little mini lecture, the ways in which culture is the transmission and sharing between different human groups, mutual interaction, mutual. So, this is my attempt here to try to visualize that unbounded and more dynamic idea of culture that I've been talking about this whole time. I really look forward to seeing ways in which you may have visualized this unbounded and more dynamic view of culture. And maybe you can share that with me and we can think about ways together to try to describe and depict a view of culture that does not depend on separation, static identity, and so the final idea that I want to leave you with today is the way in which any kind of idea or myth that we think exists can become a self-fulfilling prophecy if we act as if it exists, right? So we can see that with race. If we act as if race is biologically real and discriminate or have a system in which structural inequality filtered through racism exists, then you will start to see, for example, differential health outcomes amongst people of different races, right? A way in which race can become biology in the sense that people can receive different levels of care based on race and then have different health outcomes as a result of those different levels of care. In the same way, when we have this idea of culture as individual little pool balls that are diametrically opposed and utterly distinct and separate from each other, and we act as if that's the case, then we can start to see the kind of clashes and conflicts in which people are assuming that those conflicts exist because of culture, and identities which were not as polarized before become more and more polarized, right? And so these are ways in which we can see in the case of the culture concept, in the case of the clash of civilization, we can see the way in which ideas really matter, right? So if we have an idea of culture as dynamic and changeable and based upon exchange and mutual influence, that will affect the way we act in the world. If we have an idea of culture based on a notion of pool balls and clash of civilizations, that also affects the way we and our political leaders and everyone else acts in the world. So ideas really, really have weight.